Hi, I'm David Siegel, and this is my longevity event for people 50 and over. I'm 65 years old. I have had one full ankle reconstruction, two knee operations. I've broken both hips. This was in my left hip for 5 years, this piece of titanium. The other one is still in. I've had 4 heart procedures, 1 spinal fusion, and a full stroke. So I've had a bit of an interface with the medical system in the United States. And today I want to give you about a 1-hour talk on longevity, what we know, what's new, and what you can do to extend your healthy years. I want to advise you at the beginning, I'm not here to give medical advice or coaching. I'm here to give information and demonstrations, not instructions. So please consult a medical professional or a competent statistician before you attempt to do any of these things I recommend, or you don't do any of the things I recommend. I might say some things that you don't agree with because I study statistics and decision science. I was a business coach and I'm now a health and longevity coach, and I want to make sure you have good doctors because a lot of doctors are out of date. My program is based largely on the work in these books here, plus papers and current research. I might say some things you don't agree with. Ask yourself whether what I say makes sense or not. You're going to learn some new things today, so be open to new concepts. I give 8 lectures on health and longevity, and this is the first one, the free overview of all the other 7 topics. So if you're ready for some new ideas, let's get started. The human body was never meant or designed to live more than 50 years old. So after 50, you're on your own. The Human Body Owner's Manual doesn't have any pages on what to do. And we have 2 approaches to our health. Either treat symptoms with drugs and treatments after we see problems, or try to prevent and reverse those symptoms from happening in the first place. Now, most doctors don't do prevention. They treat symptoms. So your doctors aren't always on your side. A few people might be interested in prevention, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. Based on one key principle, antifragility. Antifragile describes systems that gain from disorder, as opposed to being merely robust or resilient. So if you had a fragile thing and you stress it, it'll break. If you have a robust or resilient thing and you stress it, it will be unchanged. But if you have an anti-fragile thing and you stress it or stretch it and pull it and abuse it, it gains, it improves from stress. And the human body is one of those anti-fragile things. Your skin grows calluses from hard use. Your muscles and bones grow in response to the demand placed on them. And if you don't demand anything from your muscles and bones, they'll get weaker. And look at astronauts. They come back from 2 or 3 months in space and they're all demineralized. They have much weaker bones and muscles. So they have to work out in space and they have to work out even harder when they come back. And the immune system benefits from exposure to pathogens. So the more you can be exposed to, the stronger your immune system is. Our bodies aren't designed to take the abuse of relaxing, eating, drinking, sleeping, and being inactive. We're not designed for this. We're designed for motion, disruption, getting away from predators, competition, and stress. In other words, use it or lose it. But even if you lose it, even if you lose some ability, you can probably gain much of it back because those muscles and nerve fibers are there, but they just have to get reinvigorated. So let me ask you something. Are people over 60 generally losing weight or gaining weight? Are they mostly gaining weight? Because I think most people would agree that as we age, we get heavier. And that is not going in the right direction. How many of you, if you're watching or listening to this, Are you stronger today than you were a year ago? Yes or no? A lot of people, most people are not stronger today than they were a year ago, no matter how old they are, if they're over 45 or so. Do you think you will be stronger a year from now than you are today? Because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you become stronger a year from now than you are today. And the statistics on the U.S. healthcare system are not particularly good. Out of the top 25 developed countries in the world, the U.S. has always ranked last in life expectancy. This has been for the last 50 years. And we spend almost twice as much per person on healthcare than any other top nation, developed nation, and 10 times more than China does. People in China live longer than Americans, and they spend 1/10 the amount of money on their healthcare than we do. And most of that is because many Chinese people are farmers who stay active until their 80s. And Americans get less and less active. Even people in Turkey and Colombia live longer than Americans do. So this is my product. This is what I sell. If you work at it, you can add many years to your life expectancy. If you're in your 50s right now, you can add 15 or 20 years. It is not that hard. It takes work, but it is very doable. If you're in your 60s or 70s, you can easily add 10 more years of quality life, and you'll probably have a shorter end of life time, which is very low quality. In your 80s, you can still add 5 to 10 years, and in your 90s, you could probably add 5 years if you want to. It's up to you. Now, for inspiration, I want to show you a few people who are aging pretty well today. This is longevity today. Mike Millen, he's 70 years old. Steve Taylor, he's 69. I've got 4 years to be in that kind of shape. Well, I'm working on it. Carla Del Grande is 70. She's a sprinter. She's at competitions every week. Ernestine Shepard, she's 80 years old. She's a sponsored athlete. She works out every day in the gym. Edwina is 76. Now, I can't lift, this is 235 pounds. I can't lift this much weight. But hey, I'm only 65 years old. Maybe by the time I'm 76, I'll be able to lift that much. This is Flo Myler. She's now 91. She holds 35 world records. This is Flo Myler. She's now 91 years old. She holds 35 world records. She is on the track almost every day. Do you think she never falls down? Or do you think she falls down once in a while? She falls down. Anybody who's going to spend that much time on the track falls down. But what does she do after she falls down? She gets back up. She's 91. She falls down. She gets back up. Compare that to your average person over 70. Over 75 years old, falls are the number one killer of people over 75, more than heart disease and cancer combined. And those people do not get back up because they don't have what it takes to get back up. This is Anne Lorimore. She's 89 years old and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro at 89. Mount Kilimanjaro is the highest point in Africa, 20,000 feet. It is minus 20 degrees at the Fahrenheit at the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. There is a lot more possible than you might think. Who's this guy? Recognize him? This is Rod Stewart, the singer. He's 81. He can run 100 meters in 19 seconds. That's 2 seconds faster than I can run, and I'm pretty fast. I work on my 100-meter time. You don't have to be stronger than these people are. You don't have to be more amazing at, athletic performance, but you can challenge yourself to be stronger and healthier a year from now than you are today. And that will help you live years longer in better health. So I'm going to show you how. The first test I always ask people is, when I'm giving a talk at senior communities, I say, how many people can get up out of a chair without using arms? just standing up. Now, about half of people in their 70s and 80s can do that. But in 5 years, in just 5 years later, half of those people won't be able to do it. That reduces your range. That reduces your independence. And that's going in the wrong direction. So you want to know how to keep standing up without using arms? Keep doing it. Keep working on it so you don't limit your options and you don't limit your independence. Your muscles are there for that reason. They will help you do that. So here are 7 things, the top 7 things you can do to improve your health for the long run. And I'm going to surprise you with the first one because I expect you don't know it. Number 1 is reduce your insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is the base of most degenerative disease. It is resistance to the glucose spikes caused by us when we eat carbohydrates, sugars, and simple carbohydrates, and even potatoes and bread and pasta. So you want to reduce your insulin resistance, which we measure using hemoglobin A1C measurement. It's probably already on your existing blood test. So you could go check your email or your health portal, check your last blood test, and see what your A1C number is. That number will tell you your most important marker of health. Insulin resistance increases the risk of heart disease by a lot: stroke, diabetes, Alzheimer's, osteoporosis, kidney disease, and much more. So look at your A1C number, and if it is 5.6 or lower, you are insulin sensitive, and that's great. You want to stay there. And in that case, you can more or less eat whatever you want, whatever's working for you. You'll probably live many years longer than you would if your number is 5.7 or higher. Now, if your number is 5.7 to 6.2, you're pre-diabetic. And if it's over 6.2, you're diabetic. And most people over about 6.5 are injecting insulin 3, 4, 5 times a day. So the question is, which direction are you going? If you look back on your previous history of blood tests, you might find that your A1C number is going up. And we want it to go down. And you do that through diet and exercise. The wrong diet and only a little exercise is how you got where you are if you're high. And a better diet and more exercise, especially more hard exercise, will get you out of the situation. It will lower your A1C. Nothing else matters as much as your A1C number. So you can go find it out right now because it was almost certainly measured in your last blood panel. And you can work to lower it over the next couple of years. That is number 1. Number 2, another surprise. Get enough protein. Most people don't. You should get about 1 gram of protein for every pound of ideal body weight. Not if you're particularly overweight, but your sort of ideal body weight. That should be your guide. And most people can't do that. That's too much. That's a lot of protein. So for me, I'm 160 pounds. And that means 160 grams of protein every day. You're going to break it into 4 parts. You're going to try to get 4. I try to get 40 grams of protein 4 times a day. If you weigh 120, you want to get 30 grams of protein 4 times a day. And if you weigh 200 pounds, you want to get 50 grams of protein 4 times per day. Okay? It's hard. And if you don't make it every day, that's fine. That's why I use 1 gram per pound as a goal. And if you can get it, get it. But if you can't, then the next day you try to get it the next time. All right. Number 3, lose fat. There are so many negatives to fat that will limit your life and your health and your quality of life. It prevents you from gaining muscle, and muscle extends your life. Besides, you feel better when you're less fat. And visceral fat around your organs, will kill you. So we're going to learn a little bit more about that. But visceral fat comes from your insulin resistance. And as you lower your insulin resistance, you should be able to lose visceral fat. If you lower your insulin resistance and you lose weight, you're probably losing visceral fat, which is very healthy to do. You don't want belly fat, and that is an indication, if you can pinch your belly fat, that is an indication you have visceral fat, which is fat around the liver, pancreas, and other organs, and your intestines. So visceral fat you can't feel, it's inside, and it is very dangerous. So you want to lose both your fat you can pinch and the fat inside, and you do that through reducing your carbohydrates and exercising a lot. So this is a tool I use for my clients. There are 3 numbers for every client that I can use to determine what you can eat and what you can't eat. This is for determining your diet. When you become my client, I draw this diagram for you and show your shape using 3 numbers: insulin resistance, pounds you want to lose, and an indicator of cardiovascular health called ApoB. This is essentially your total cholesterol number. It's a better measure of cholesterol than just measuring cholesterol. So you're going to need to adjust your diet according to your blood test results and your goals. Anyone who tells you the best diet is a Mediterranean diet, or the best diet is a keto diet, or the best diet is a low-fat diet, that doesn't make any sense. It's got to be tailored to you and your needs, your history, and your desires. If your dietitian doesn't know this and doesn't ask your A1C number, you need a better dietitian. All right, about fat. When you gain weight, you add fat cells. They come from little proto cells, these little stem cells that become fat cells as you get bigger. But when you lose weight, when you lose the fat and it looks like you've lost the weight, what happens to those fat cells? Do you lose fat cells as you lose weight? No, you don't. You never lose any fat cells. Your entire life, you will keep those fat cells forever. Even if you look slim, you will still have those fat cells. And this is why people go up and down with their weight. Because if you lose 30 pounds in 90 days, like the weight loss marketers tell you that you'll do, you can do it. But your fat cells have now become skinnier. They're like water balloons that have shrunk. And they want the fat back. Those fat cells are not going away. And they don't like being skinny. They are used to being filled. And so in most cases, anybody who loses weight in 120 days, 3 or 4 months, crash diet, you lose the weight, sure, you lose the weight. But it comes back because about 25% of the effort required to lose weight and keep it off happens in the first phase where you lose the weight. 3/4 of the effort is keeping it off. So I don't talk about losing pounds. I talk about losing forever pounds. It's much better to lose 10 pounds a year for 5 years and keep those 50 pounds off than it is to go up and down and be the biggest loser, lose 50 pounds, because a year, 2 years later, most of that weight comes back for almost everybody. 96% of diets fail because the fat wants to come back. Your cells, your endocrine system has a set point that it's gotten used to. If it took you 20, 30, 40 years to get overweight, it will not relinquish that weight easily. And as soon as you turn around and slip up, you're going to gain the weight right back. So you need to spend a lot more effort to keep the weight from coming back than you do losing in the first place. That's why people, when I tell them, as soon as you lose your target, let's say 30 pounds, let's say in a year, your weight loss journey has just begun, because it is going to take all you've got to keep it from coming back. And there are ways to do this, but one of the most important ways is not to lose too much too quickly, because your body can't handle it. So if you can lose 20 pounds in 1 year, that's great. Keep it off. If you can lose 40 pounds in 2 years, that's about as much as most people can lose. Keep it off. Keep exercising. Do more to keep it from coming back. All right, now I want to talk about number 4, and that's replace your hormones. This is even before exercise. I haven't even gotten to exercise yet. This is so important that 95% of women in the United States are not doing it. everyone over 50, every woman over 50 should see a doctor, preferably a urologist, not your general practitioner, about replacing hormones. When you go through menopause, your estrogen drops to the floor and your progesterone goes to zero. And both of those hormones are very protective. They can prevent cancer. You may have heard that taking estrogen causes cancer. This is from a 2002 study, very expensive study that was very poorly analyzed, and you may have heard of Premarin. They used synthetic estrogen. They used a synthetic progesterone called progestin. Nobody uses that anymore. We don't take estrogen by mouth anymore. In case your doctor has you taking estrogen by mouth, you need a different doctor. Estrogen today is taken as a patch under the arm usually, or as a pellet, which is done in the doctor's office, or as a cream, and there are a few other ways. There are rings and other ways to deliver estrogen that is so beneficial for women that they just don't know it, because there was this terrible PR event in 2002 that scared everybody, that wasn't true. In fact, those researchers, and this book, Estrogen Matters, goes into the details, those researchers later published a reanalysis of their original data and said that they screwed up, and that actually estrogen helps prevent cancer. So for 20 years, we haven't used those oral estrogens or those synthetic drugs. Now we use bioidentical drugs that are the same that your body makes, and we deliver estrogen through patches, injections, so forth. And you can take progesterone by mouth, and it's usually 100 or 200 milligrams, and it really helps you sleep. There are so many benefits to hormone replacement, including testosterone, by the way, which helps you build muscle and gives you more energy and libido and so many more things. So this isn't one size fits all. You need to work with a good doctor to dial in the right quantities, and it may change for you over time. 2-3 years from now, you may need to make more changes, but you want to dial in your hormone replacement program so that you get all the benefits of hormone. You're not adding hormones in some unnatural way. You're just replacing what you used to have when you felt so much more youthful and vivacious. Even, and this is important, any women, let's say you've never had it and you're in your 80s or 90s, you should still talk to a doctor about estrogen creams that can be hugely beneficial. Almost every woman over 50 can benefit from some form of estrogen, even if it's in a cream form. And almost nobody wouldn't. I mean, you try estrogen cream for 6 months, you're not going to go back off. You're not going to say, that didn't really work. No, you're going to work with a good doctor, get your estrogen, and be able then to do all the other things I'm about to talk about. All right, so see a doctor and learn your options. I have a list of good online urologists for this. They only specialize in hormone replacement. You can find that on my website, on my blog. Now, finally, build muscle. And that is be stronger a year from now than you are today. And that is the fifth most important thing you can do, because everything else is the platform getting ready for building muscle. And so the walking and pickleball and some small weights are not going to do it. You have to work hard in the gym. And this is my most important slide right here. It is dangerous not to exercise. We know that people over 75, after they fall, half of them never get up again. Death usually comes within 2 to 5 years. And inactivity is absolutely every bit as dangerous as getting hurt in the gym. I'd rather get hurt in the danger zone at the top of this chart than in the danger zone at the bottom where I'm weak and I don't have the muscle to support my recovery. So the safe zone is where you're working hard, you're building muscle, you're getting stronger, you're building stability and balance and coordination so that you're not losing it. And then once you've built it up for 4 or 5 years, then you want to keep working hard to maintain it. And that added muscle will give you all the drugs your body needs. If you build muscle, you can get off your hypertension drugs. You can get off your diabetes drugs. You can get off lots of drugs by becoming stronger. And the second half of that is cardio fitness. And believe it or not, more and more research is showing that more exercise is better and harder exercise is better for your heart, for your cardiovascular system. You want to get rid of high blood pressure? Work hard. Do what Rod Stewart is doing. Run hard, get out of breath, sweat. Not only do your best in a given endeavor, say on the track or treadmill or on a rowing machine or in the pool, but then keep beating your own time to keep raising the bar, to keep improving not only your heart muscle, but to soften the muscles of your heart and to soften your arteries and to get rid of plaque. The harder exercise will eliminate, not completely, but will reduce the amount of plaque in your arteries. And it's the soft plaque that is most dangerous because that's what causes strokes and heart attacks. And your body will remove it if you are exercising hard. And that has to do with all these 10 types of exercise that I coach my clients on because I want you doing all of them. And that requires half an hour to 45 minutes a day in the gym. I do an hour a day in the gym. And then about 3 hours or even 4 hours of cardio fitness every week. And I'm not talking about walking. Walking doesn't do it. Pickleball doesn't do it. Even bike riding doesn't do it unless you're really riding hard and riding uphill and really hammering and getting sweaty. Most sports are too easy. You want to really build up a sweat. And so instead of walking, a lot of people like walking. I love walking. Get a weight vest, put 5 pounds in it, 6 pounds, 8 pounds, 10 pounds, and go walk. You won't walk as far, but it will build muscle and endurance, and it will challenge your skeleton and your body to become stronger, which normal walking won't do. So this is called rucking, and you can build up from 5 pounds to 10 to 15 to 20. When I go to the grocery store every week, 2-3 times a week, I bring my backpack and I bring everything home on my back. Usually weighs about 60 pounds, all the way back home and all the way up the stairs. 3 times a week. That is really good for your heart. So build these habits that help you stress your skeleton through adding weight through a weight vest or a weight pack. Now, how long does it take you to go up 4 flights of stairs? 4 flights of stairs. In a modern building, that's 68 steps. How long does it take? I challenge you to go try it. Everybody's got 4 flights of stairs usually available. And then write down your time and do it every single day, once a day at least, or twice a day for a month. And then write down your time at the end of the month. You will be surprised how fast you can improve and how much you can bring your 4 flight time down. And then you could work on even more. So you work on that for a whole year. A year later, you are going up 4 flights of stairs probably in half the time that you did at the very beginning. This is one of my exercises. I work on it very hard. How long do you think it takes me, I'm 65, to go up 4 flights of stairs? Guess how long it takes me to go up 4 flights of stairs. Let's say I'm good at it. How long is that? Would you believe my record was last week? My best record was under 20 seconds. This happened about 5 days ago. 19.97 seconds for 4 flights of stairs. Now, unfortunately, my 16-year-old son can do it in under 15 seconds, so he shows me up every time. But that encourages me to keep trying to beat my record even more. He does 3 steps at a time. I only do 2 steps at a time. My legs aren't long enough, but I challenge you to try going up 4 flights of stairs every day for 1 month. Here it says 7 days. No, let's do it for 1 month. That's my stair challenge. It doesn't cost you anything. Contact me and tell me how much lower your time went from your beginning time to the same 4 flights 1 month later, and you'll be surprised how much improvement you can make. And we can do that across many different exercises. I also do 10 flights of stairs in under 70 seconds in case you'd like to take that one on. That's more of a half marathon on the stairs. Being in the stairs a couple of times a week really helps your heart. 7, the last one, is building bone. Now, the last thing you want to do for your bones is to take drugs. You've heard of Prolia, Boniva, Fosamax. These are terrible drugs no one should take. And if your endocrinologist recommends Fosamax or Boniva, you should find another endocrinologist, because that person is not statistically literate and is being sold by drug companies on a concept that does not help. Very profitable products, very bad for patients. So instead, you want a program for building bone. It's based on getting enough protein. How much? 1 gram per pound per day, right? Enough estrogen through hormone replacement, and even men need enough estrogen to build bone. Most men have it, but if you don't, you want to top it up as well. And the right supplements, and the supplement I recommend is called AlgaeCal Plus. I will go over that in another lecture where I talk about supplements, but AlgaeCal Plus will give you everything you need, and then you can forget about your vitamin D that you're taking separately, and maybe a few others. And you want to take collagen. Collagen is not hard to get, it is not expensive, and you should be taking collagen every day. Even if you can't feel it, it's going to help you build bone, because you're going to be in the gym exercising specifically to build bone. And there are a few different ways to do that. One is loading with a lot of weight, which I don't recommend for most people because you need a lot of weight to do that. But you can, if you can squat with something like 100 pounds, even 60 pounds, you are building your hips, and that's great. If you can, do some kind of lifting with your spine, or farmer carry, which is what I have people do, holding weights in their hands and walking around the gym, that helps. And I have all my clients doing farmer carries. It also helps grip strength. But the other category is impact, where you are impacting the bones to tell them, to give them a signal. This is for my wrists, my forearms, to give them a signal to grow. If you don't give them the signal to grow, if you're not building bone, you're losing bone. And most people after about age 30, 35 are losing bone simply because of disuse. It's not some kind of magical age thing. The people who are who row on teams, who are semi-professional or Olympic level rowers, their bones are fine as long as even if they're in their senior competitive years in their 40s and 50s, they have plenty of bone because they're stressing their bones. This is called Wolff's Law. Your bones will build in response to their anticipated need for more strength. And if they don't get that signal, they will waste away. And you notice most people in their 80s and 90s have tiny wrists. You can also notice that I have big forearms. I've gained 1 inch across my forearms in the last year simply by working my grip strength, and that improves my bone health all throughout the arm. This is another set of coaching set that I do with clients, and I'll put a link in the description to a video I have made on building bone. Everyone can build bone. Very few of us coaches have a bone building program, but that's what you will need to make sure that the bones aren't the weakest link when you're in your 70s, 80s, and 90s, so that when you fall down, you get back up. And that is possible through a bone building program. Now, I want to switch and talk about testing. And this is just sort of a taste of the research I've done on health and longevity, and you'll be surprised to learn that about half of all tests, medical tests done in the United States are unnecessary. This contributes to our high cost of medicalization in the US. And $200 billion is spent on annual checkups that do nobody any good. They're good for doctors because they make money, but they don't really, annual checkup doesn't help anybody. And so testing, the way we think about it is, if your doctor wants to test something, ask first, fine, let's test that thing, whatever it is. What are you going to do differently based on the outcome of the test? If you get a cancer screening and it's positive for cancer, you're going to do something differently based on the outcome of the test. So fine, it's important to do a number of tests where you'll do something differently, but if your doctor isn't clear about what you'll do after the test based on what the results of the test, or if you just do the same thing no matter what, then why are you testing? There's no reason to get the test. And about half of all tests are done this way. This is very common. So if I'm making sense to you, then I want you to think about whether you need a particular test or not, because many, many tests are unnecessary. I'm not going to explain all these here, and there are many more. I've done some writing on some of this, but prostate cancer screening, for most men, if they find that you have a high prostate cancer antigen, a PSA, if you have a high PSA score, they're going to start doing things that aren't necessarily very good for you. And most people don't die of prostate cancer. They die with it. It's a very slow growing cancer. So some people are at risk and they should get a full, it's called a Gleason score, a full cancer, screening for prostate cancer. But most men, especially older men, stop getting tested when it'd be smart not to do anything about that condition, even if it shows that you're positive. And let's look at the DEXA scan as an example. Many people have probably had a DEXA scan. If you're over 50, over 60, you probably have had one. This is a measure of bone density, which again is a little bit of an industry marketing tool for drug companies that encourage doctors to do the DEXA scan, because they might show that you are high or low on the DEXA scan, and that leads to more and more possible treatments down the road. So let's just take two examples, all right? Example number one, you get a DEXA scan and they say, congratulations, you've got above average bone density. Well, that's pretty good. What are you going to do about that? Nothing, because we know that doing nothing will lessen your bone density, will take you in the wrong direction. You can't, if you did nothing, for sure you'd be losing bone density. So whatever you're doing to maintain your bone density, you want to keep doing that. And in most cases, it is serious, impactful, and weight-driven exercise. The only people who are really above average in bone density are people in the gym, who are working out in the gym with weights. Almost nobody else is. And so you would keep doing that if you had that score, right? That would not change. On the other hand, if you get a DEXA scan and you learn that you have osteopenia or some lower score, you have low bone density. Again, this is mostly a marketing term. Now what? Well, they might start offering you drugs, but instead of that, you could start building bone in the gym with enough protein, remember, enough estrogen and enough, what's the third thing? Supplements, sorry, enough. So you would go right into the gym, making sure you have enough protein, estrogen, and the right supplements, and you would start building bone the same as you would do if you had a high DEXA scan score. You wouldn't do anything different depending on the score. So why are you getting a DEXA scan? Why don't you just forget the DEXA scan, get into the gym, and start maximally building bone? If you're not building bone, you're losing bone. So wake up every morning and say to yourself, I've got to build some bone today. I've got to build my forearms, my arms, my spine, my hips, and my legs. And there are exercises for doing all that. All right. So the bottom line is you don't need to measure too much. You just need to get into the gym and do the work, because the building muscle and building bone will do almost all the work for you. But that's not what we have in longevity today. No. Today we have marketing tools. One of the biggest marketing tools they use is this biological age, which is a made up number that doesn't exist. Nobody has a biological age. No one has a biological age. It's just fiction. You have your you have your chronological age, and then you've got various conditions and assets and liabilities. And there's no biological age that makes any sense. But they'll give it to you as a result of a bunch of tests, and that motivates you to get more services from the service providers who are these longevity spas that are making so much money these days. And one of the things they do, they test 160 lab tests. Can you see that in the lower left? This is Function Health. One of the owners of Function Health is Mark Hyman, who is a great doctor, but is doing a little too much marketing these days, because if they measure 160 things, they're going to find some numbers that are a little low or a little high. Something somewhere is going to be a little out of range, even though you don't have any symptoms. So what's going to happen? They're going to start seeing specialists and treatments and more tests and biopsies and films and scans and scores. And now you've got a bunch of treatments for a bunch of things that you didn't really bother you at all, but they are fantastic money makers. And so if you hear about longevity spa services that give a full body scan, run away. And if they give you a full body scan, you're likely to find some little dark spot on a body scan, and now you're all worried about it, and there's a lot more investigation, and specialists are called in, and now you got a whole thing that everybody's got to deal with. It's probably generally nothing. It's probably a false positive, and there are plenty of those. So nobody needs a full body scan unless for some reason you're at risk of full body cancer or something. I don't know, because you just don't need it. So 3 lab tests is all I need to help you put your longevity program together, plus 2 numbers that we can tell right away. So I'm going to go through these. Your A1C number is your level of insulin resistance. And if it is high, we are going to work on that first. Your APOB is your atherosclerotic score, your cardiovascular disease score. And if it's high, we're going to have to work on getting that down. We do that through drugs, diet, and exercise. In case you're wondering, no, alcohol is not part of the solution. No alcohol is the best solution. A glass of wine a day makes things worse. All right. And then finally, your hormones. We need to know where your hormones are, where they're going, and whether they need to be adjusted, added to, because you can't get anywhere. You can't build bone and you can't build muscle without enough estrogen. Right? And then the other ones are, how much fat do you have to lose, and how old are you? Because how old you are will determine a few other things. So this is how a person looks. This is a client comes to me and I get her numbers and she looks like this, and she's in great shape, yes, but she's about to go through menopause pretty soon. And so she's going to need to keep an eye on estrogen and talk with her doctor about catching that early, because too many women do it late. And we've got to work on her cardiovascular situation, because it needs attention. She probably needs at least 1 drug to reduce her LDL and other particles that are atherosclerotic. But we'll have to see also what her exercise and what her diet looks like to put the whole picture together. Here is a woman you may know who unfortunately is on Ozempic to lose weight, a disaster drug that is causing lots of problems in society, and there will be many more as people get over the honeymoon phase of Ozempic and Wegovy. They learn that they're now sort of trapped by this drug where they haven't lost all the weight they want, but if they stop the drug, they'll gain it back. So it's kind of like smoking, Really, if you just keep smoking the rest of your life, you will not gain weight, maybe. That's how things used to be. But all you're doing is paying rent to giant companies. It's really the perfect business model. Pay $1,000 a month to lose some weight and then never be able to stop paying because you don't want that weight to come back. So I have a semaglutide taper business where I'm working with clients to get them off because most people don't even last 2 years on these drugs because it's too hard. And the benefit is just no longer there and it's just too expensive. So tapering is going to be key. And if you can possibly know anybody who's thinking about taking these drugs, send them to my website and have them figure out that this is a bad trade. The other good thing about this particular patient is she's very pro estrogen replacement, hormone replacement therapy, and she spreads that word to millions of people. So she has helped a lot of people be aware of the benefits of hormone replacement therapy. Fantastic. But here we can see that even though she's on the drug, her A1C is the problem. And she really needs to be in a ketogenic diet, at least until her A1C is down into 5.6 or below. Once your A1C is below 5.7, now you can start to add in carbs. And if you can keep it down in the insulin sensitive range below 5.7, you can have as many carbs as you want or as much birthday cake as you want. But if it goes back up, that's when you got to start working it back down. So you can kind of dial in your insulin sensitivity through restriction of carbs and lots of exercise. That's what this person needs, more exercise and fewer carbs. Here's a guy you may recognize. I believe he has recently lost a bunch of weight, but when you see the big hard belly, especially on a man or on a woman, that tells you there's visceral fat and there's insulin resistance. And so you've got to work to get insulin resistance down and lose the fat. These are the priorities. This particular guy, smart guy, eats only meat. As far as I know, he eats mostly red meat. He doesn't really eat vegetables or anything else. He just eats red meat. It's a carnivore diet, and he is possibly a risk for a heart attack. He may have too high of a cardiovascular risk, so you may want to keep the protein high like that, but you may want to substitute other protein sources than red meat because too much red meat can elevate your risk of heart disease. And so this is the scorecard I give all my clients, and you are going to be somewhere here, and that is your tool for getting healthier for the long run. In many cases, people say, well, you're a longevity coach. No, really, actually, I save people's lives because if I give you 10 more years that you weren't going to get anyway, that's like pushing you out of the way of an oncoming train. That is saving your life. And in 10 years, if you're going to be less independent or much more restricted, if I can help you retain your independence, again, that is like saving your life. 2 weeks ago, I started a new client, and she loved her naturopathic doctor who was giving her estrogen pills, red flag, estrogen pills, very bad, along with 900 milligrams of progesterone. That's almost a gram of progesterone a day. Nobody prescribes that. This is called getting your hormones from a quack doctor who's not trying to kill you, but is going to kill you. That is the stuff you don't want. You want to go to a specialist, get the right kind of hormones delivered the right way at the right amounts, and have someone who can help you dial it in so it's right for you. You want to go to a good urologist, and you want to get good hormone support. Last week, I started a new client, a friend of mine who lifts weights, plays tennis, very strong, athletic, has a little bit of a belly. Otherwise, he's very fit, and he showed me I asked for certain blood work, and and it was clear. He had non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's almost impossible to see that, except there might be a little bit of a chubby belly. And that's visceral fat, and that will kill you. So in a person who otherwise feels pretty good, about half of all people who have belly fat have NAFLD, it's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's visceral fat, and he didn't know that. And it's not the best news to feel fit and in good shape and have energy and find out that you have something like a ticking time bomb inside. But it's a lot better to find out now in your 50s than in your 60s or 70s, and that you have much less of a chance to do something about it. It's easy to do something about it. You just have to work on it. Yes, he's working out, but he has to change his diet. He has to go on a ketogenic diet to get the A1C number down to under 5.7. Another client of mine has high cholesterol. And he says, well, it's always been high. It's probably genetic. Well, that is not a reason to have high cholesterol. It practically doubles the risk of a heart attack. So I said, do you know about PCSK9 inhibitors? It's a drug called Repatha. He said, no, he never heard of it. I said, well, then you've got the wrong cardiologist. And a lot of people do. A good cardiologist will help you solve these problems and get you into the gym so you have a kind of a complete solution for lowering these numbers and improving your chances of not having a heart attack. So I have a fantastic consulting cardiologist, and he works with people all around the country on Zoom. No problem. He sees people in his office here in Friendship Heights in Maryland. But if you don't have a great doctor, you will want somebody like me or someone who can help you, guide you to get the right doctors in the first place, so you can have a healthy cardiovascular system, and not someone who says, your cholesterol is high, you should go do some exercise. No, your cholesterol is high, it's a red flag, and you've got to do something about it. And we have drugs, diet, and exercise, and supplements, a lot of things you could work on. Another client injured her back 20 years ago, and so she doesn't lift any weights. She has a personal trainer who does body weight exercise with her, but I said, no, your bones are demineralizing. You don't get any exceptions. 100% of people in wheelchairs have osteoporosis, and that will probably be their weakest link later in their lives. Even people 35 and 40 years old in wheelchairs have osteoporosis because it's from inactivity and not stressing enough. So I told her we've got to find clever ways to stress your bones. And you can even use, for people who have difficulties, you can use vibration plates. There are certain ways to do that will help. They're not magic, but they can help prevent bone loss. And so there are a lot of things we can do to work on building your bone, and doing nothing is the wrong strategy. So I'm not just an exercise coach. I save lives. I can tell you more stories after stories of people who are not aging well, not doing it right. They don't know what they're doing in the gym. They have no idea about diet, and they are causing their own early deaths. I can give most people 10 years just by stopping from doing many of the things they're already doing now. And there's another 10 years longer life from doing more of the right things that will help extend your life. So if I give you 10 years, am I saving your life? Well, maybe I am. That's what my clients think I do. They think I saved their lives because they were going in the wrong direction and things were not going to work out well. It is not your doctor's job to do that. It is your doctor's job to wait around and give you medicine after your symptoms reach a certain threshold. Then they'll give you medicine, and that is not conducive to living a long, healthy life. We've seen that. We have that. That's called the American health system, medical system, and it is very highly medicalized and expensive in the last 10 years of life, and not particularly enjoyable. So here are your takeaways. Number one, you really can extend your life by 5, 10, even 20 years. If you're in your 50s, I wish people in their 50s would not be so busy that they can't pay attention to their own health. And those who are willing to pay attention to their own health can get tremendous benefits. But even if you're in your 90s, you can extend your life by several years. I don't know how many, never know. Any of us could get hit by a bus tomorrow. But you can extend your chances, and you can feel better by having less fat and more muscle at any age. And you can be stronger a year from now than you are today at any age. Remember my most important slide? It's absolutely as riskier to do nothing than to do something. If you're working out hard in the gym, it's actually very hard to get really hurt. You can do it. That's why you shouldn't take my advice on your own. You should have a qualified coach or someone to help you work on this to build muscle. Don't do it just on yourself or after watching a few videos on YouTube. Get the help you need, but boy, you can so much improve. Just take the stair challenge alone. Just take that stair challenge. Go in the stairs and go up 4 flights of stairs every day for a month, and you'll see. You'll see how much better you can be in just 1 month. All right, so this is the 7 things you can do that will give you 80% of that increase in life expectancy that you can get for the smallest amount of attention and work. And there's another 20% of more exotic things that I could extend your life with if you really want to do some of the less important things. That's fine. But the 80% comes from these 7. This is what I concentrate on in my program because these things move the needle most. And yes, everyone can do this. Everyone can be stronger a year from now than you are today. Talk to people who've lost 100 pounds. Was it hard? Yes. Was it worth it? Yes. If magically you gained 100 pounds back, would you do it again? Yes, they would, because you feel so much better and it is so much better for your health. That's why I'm a coach, because you need to do it every day. And many doctors aren't helping. We know what to do now, and you can do it. Do not fall for the nonsense Andrew Huberman treatments and exotic blue light, red light, cold plunge stuff that's just noise. Focus on the big stuff, get it right, and live longer. If you're ready for the stair challenge, you can get started today. If you're ready to take the next step and seriously engage with me or find a coach who really wants to help you be stronger a year from now than you are today, get in touch. That's what I'm here for. There's no reason to wait. Now is the best time to start building bone and muscle, and later is always harder. So let's build it up now for the next several years and then maintain it and give you your best chance at a high quality life for the longest number of years possible. I've got more lectures available. I charge money for the deeper dives on all these different topics. But if you're interested, if you want to get a group of people to pay for them, I'll come give these lectures. I can do it as 3 long lectures or 7 full-length lectures and with lots more questions and answers. But that's what I'm here for, and I will help you do that by Zoom or in person, however you want to do it. Let's set that up so you can take the next step on your longevity journey. Last week, I started a new client, a friend of mine who lifts weights, plays tennis, very strong, athletic, has a little bit of a belly. Otherwise, he's very fit. And he showed me his, I asked for certain blood work and he showed, and it was clear. He had non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's almost impossible to see that, except there might be a little bit of a chubby belly. And that's visceral fat, and that will kill you. So in a person who otherwise feels pretty good, about half of all people who have belly fat have NAFLD, it's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's visceral fat, and he didn't know that. And it's not the best news to feel fit and in good shape and have energy and find out that you have something like a ticking time bomb inside. But it's a lot better to find out now in your 50s than in your 60s or 70s, and that you have much less of a chance to do something about it. It's easy to do something about it. You just have to work on it. Yes, he's working out, but he has to change his diet. He has to go on a ketogenic diet to get the A1C number down.